But there we go.
Okay,
Back together.
what's happening?
Oh, can't breathe.
Uh-oh. Allergies or what?
It's like dry. I've been doing a lot of yard work. I think it's all the dust because it just feels
Well,
like I have nothing but like dry, crusty stuff in my nose. It's annoying.
yeah, I got some ashy skin kind of thing happening for sure.
It's probably a lack of water for you.
No, I'm doing fine on that end. I looked at my legs the other day and I was like, "Oh, that's rough." Yeah. So it is
Cloud of
dry,
dust.
but we're starting to get a lot of storms. The weather is changing. It's getting hotter. We're supposed to get 100 degrees on Wednesday.
Yeah, I saw that.
The hell. Um, so
I'm all
yeah,
right with
it's
that.
well, we'll see. I like today was great. It was like 50, 60 degrees this morning. Took a little walk before I got going. It's like, man, if I reminded me of the Midwest where I grew up. It's like, oh yeah, it doesn't have to stay the same temperature the whole day.
Yeah, it can change. It's a
What a
pants and a
concept.
hoodie in the morning, and then got to be naked at night because it's 105.
Yeah, what a concept. Up, low, up, and then back down to low.
Hmm.
So if we're already, I guess it's May, 100 degrees isn't probably out of the question for May, but boy, it snuck up on us. So, okay, Mr. Weather Insurance man, you got to be a weather expert as well. I mean, you're not a roofer, so you don't have to like follow the actual Doppler, but with the weather going crazy and getting way hotter quick, probably gonna expect some storms, I'd
I would
imagine.
say that we're probably through storm season by
As,
mid-May.
as soon as when you think you're through is when the big one comes.
Well, I know what we grew up as knowing what Tornado Alley is kind of shifted east. It like barely incorporates North Texas now in terms of
Oh, come on.
frequency of tornadoes and like super severe thunderstorms.
Yeah, every time you hear something on the radio alert or TV, it's like Jacksboro, Jacksboro, Jacksboro.
That's not Fort Worth.
Well, yeah.
So,
It
um, yeah, I mean, I think,
seems like up there, and then all the hail is kind of in Collin County.
yeah, it's all kind of shifting. I have a weird belief that construction forces weather to change. Like, you just the
Construction?
concrete, the heat, the reflectiveness. I have no science to back that up, but
I
just
wouldn't be
generally
wild,
speaking,
wouldn't be wildly shocked by that. I mean, got to talking to this one guy a couple weeks ago about trees, and like I guess because it was the election, I'm asking people what they think about which candidate. Tell me stuff I might not know. And because we just had an election for mayor, all the city council positions in Fort Worth, and then lots of other counties had local elections as well, school board, water districts, folks like that actually have a real impact. But I was asking about them, and they were saying that Maddie Parker of Fort Worth mayor reelected again, but they said that she has an initiative to have X amount of parks or X amount of green space. So I was
mhm.
just trying to ask about that, but like, yeah, a lot of these developers come in and they take down trees that have been there for hundreds of years, and you put in concrete. Your air is going to be affected by that.
Yeah, I wasn't really talking about trees. I'm just like overall concrete because like usually when you hear of a massive tornado rip through a town, it's like they have like four big buildings. Other than 2002-ish when the tornado hit Fort Worth, I don't know of any major tornadoes hitting a major metropolitan area. Like
So
as
you're
a
saying
norm,
you think the concrete is a deterrent for these storms?
I think so. In my head,
Hmm.
just I don't know if there's any causation. I don't know if it's causation or correlation, but when was the last tornado you heard rip through a concrete jungle?
We need to get Delkus on here.
Yeah, I mean, I warn homeowners from time
Is
to time
Delkus
when
sports
they're
or weather?
weather.
Okay,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
weather.
we need to get him on here.
I warn homeowners about it when a new development goes in, a new neighborhood, master plan community. They're like, "Well, how's the weather here?" And I go, I mean, I know how it is 40 minutes away, but no
Yeah.
one's ever lived there. So like there's zero data that they're going to share with you.
When you talk to people that move into town, into Texas, into DFW from other places, that is one of the number one things I find that I hear people talk about they didn't expect, or something that they got to get used to is weather patterns and all these crazy storms.
Yeah, I was talking to um, John this weekend actually. I met his wife and I asked her what do you like about Fort do you like Fort Worth compared to Cleveland? She's from Cleveland. She was like, the weather sucks. And I was like, well, you've only been here 2 years. We've actually gotten quite a bit of rain so far this spring season, kind of abnormal. She's like,
Yeah,
and the winter's cold. And I was like, well, that's abnormal too. Uh, that you've gotten some cold winters the 2 years
yeah.
you've been here.
But just listen to that for someone who, maybe one person catches this video and thinks about moving to DFW from some other place, and you're like, someone from Cleveland says the weather in DFW sucks.
Yeah, it was, yeah. I was like, well, I mean, 3 summers ago it was 118 degrees.
We have so much wind as well. People don't realize how windy it is around here. So stuff blows around. Allergies are bad. But at the same time, in February, January, November, December, some of these traditional winter months, we definitely will play multiple rounds of golf.
Yeah,
So it's unpredictable.
yeah. I mean, technically, I think Dallas, on average wind speed and frequency, were windier than Chicago.
Yeah, we got to look this up again. But the Windy City, it was like a marketing thing. It had
Yeah,
nothing
I
to
don't
do
know
with the
why it's
actual
called
wind.
that.
It's
Yeah, I
not, it
have
had
no
nothing
clue.
to do with the actual wind, but that is something that I forget about the actual story. But there's a story there.
Yeah. But to carry wind into weather into kind of insurance stuff, I know you sent me a post maybe a couple weeks ago saying let's talk about this with weather and rates and everything. There was a video that I saw as well. I never sent it to you. I meant to, and it was I don't know who she was. I was just listening to it. I think it was a financial podcast clip or whatever that I just happened to catch, and she was like, my dad was old school guy. He never believed in climate change, thought it was dumb, and then he saw his insurance rates change and increase with the weather changing and where he lives, and did some research and found out that like insurance companies have all these weather experts. They're predicting weather 2, 3, 4 years out, and they're basing it on the risk and the frequency of the weather. And so that made sense. That stuck in his head more so than people saying, hey, the weather's changing. He had to have some sort of real world example of, hey, the insurance company thinks that you're going to get hit by hail 3 times next year. So they're going to increase their rates because you are going to need to be paid out more often. And that was an interesting little clip, the way she explained it. I'm not doing it justice, so if I find it, I'll post it. But just the way he understood it, and talking with a lot of insurance carriers and reps and things like that, like those actuaries that are predicting the probability of something happening, these are some of the smartest people in the world. And so, it's a lot like other things. If they can predict the risk, they're going to charge you a little bit on the front end because the chances of you needing to collect money from them is much higher. It's a trade-off of money. Um, and we're seeing that in a lot of areas. And like I mentioned, the tornado alley thing somewhat shifting, that causes changes in, the risk factor and the rating factors that some of these companies have to place on you. You may have been in an area that never saw hailstorms for 20 years and suddenly now you're getting hailed on every 6 months. That's going to impact your insurance premiums for sure.
Yeah, it's really crazy. But you talk about however you want to talk about it, but people have always tried to predict weather. And I would be interested to know um, the insurance people, if they look at something like the Farmer's Almanac and where all that data has come from for decades and decades and decades, even prior to the internet. They always had the Farmer's Almanac, and they were predicting what might happen for future crops. So weather always changes.
Yeah, and
We're with all the different building and construction and everything else, though. It's hard to know what's going to happen.
yeah, and I don't know how they determine it. I just know that it's based on, and one the conversation the last couple of years was in preparation of a really bad 2025 weather season. So we've had some storms already this storm season. I feel like we've kind of gotten through it a little bit, especially if it starts getting really, really hot and we don't see a huge temperature change.
Yeah.
But what I'm really nervous about is, okay, we got through a somewhat relatively calm storm season so far. What is winter going to look like? If
Yeah.
they're saying 2025 was all these rate hikes were in preparation of 25, they thought
Or,
this
but
season
is it
was
in
going to be bad.
preparation? Is it truly in preparation, or do you think it's like, hey, we didn't amp up enough the last few years, got killed, so now we got to kind of make up some
Well,
ground?
it's a perfect storm of a lot of things, right? I mean, property values have gone up, construction costs have gone up, materials have gone up. They weren't doing enough fast enough for a long time. And everything kind of came to the doorway at the same time, and only certain things could get through. So
Yeah.
you saw increases over the past 2 years that probably should have been gradual for the past five.
Right. Yeah. They just didn't. They haven't. Everybody in the whole market is always reactive. Everyone tries to guess and be Nostradamus with everything, but it's really hard to guess what's going to happen with weather. It's really hard what's going to happen. It's hard to guess what's going to happen with the markets right now too. There's just so much stuff happening at once that everyone's doing their best. Now,
Well, and it's
sometimes
all,
best
yeah,
isn't good enough, but
right, yeah, and it's all based on your perception of fair and average, right? I mean, I'm dealing with clients all day. They're like, hey, my insurance went up 16%. I'm pissed. You need to find me a better option. Meanwhile, I'm having a conversation with somebody whose insurance went up 96%. And I'm like, hey, you're still in the best spot. I think we're good. Let's sit tight. Let's review next year. It's relative. Like, well, there's no reason my insurance should be over 3 grand. Then you look at their numbers and they paid 28.95 last year. And it's like, well, that's a negligible amount. I know it might hurt, but in the grand scheme of everything that I look at on a day-to-day basis, it's negligible to me. Um, and you may not be satisfied with it, but the next number I'm going to say starts with a four. Do you want to? We can reshop, but like I do this every day. I know what's available, what's not available, what areas are expensive, what areas aren't. And when people just get upset that things went up, it's like, well, gas is more expensive today than it was last week, maybe, but you still drove today. There's this give and take.
well,
Just because you see a price tag once a year doesn't mean that it shouldn't ever change.
people are looking for savings. I had this conversation, talking politics and business at weddings, of course. Everyone wants to talk, how's the markets? Everybody always comes up to me and asks, when are rates coming down? And so you just get to talking about everything. And people are looking for savings. But unfortunately, everyone thinks that the savings that they need to look for are in the housing market. And the unfortunate part is, I don't think you're going to find massive savings from now to the end of the year. What's 2026 look like? Like for savings in property taxes, for savings in insurance, for savings in interest rates, there's a lot of things that have to happen. They are trying to reset up the course of these dominoes right now and
Yeah.
then push one down for the next one to fall and so on and so forth. And right now there's just an empty board. We don't know what dominoes we're even playing with right now.
Yeah. I
So
think I
you
think
mentioned
people
some
look,
costs. Go
yeah,
ahead.
they look at savings in the wrong places. They
Yeah,
just,
but
I
hey,
mean,
the restaurant food is up 50%, but parking lots are full.
yeah, I
So
was having this conversation the other day where it's like, you're upset prices are going up, but you're still eating out. You're
yeah,
upset gas is
budget,
expensive, but you're still running around all over town. Like,
personal finance and budget. Well, what about Viore and all these other clothing brands and stuff I see on TV? And then I go out into the world and I see everyone of all shapes and sizes wearing the same expensive brands. So, Nike, Jordans have been that way forever. Anyone who collects shoes or jewelry or whatever, um, it just golf apparel. I mean, how many golf apparel brands are out there now? And everyone's got the new thing that they caught you on Instagram with, and
yeah,
it's $150 shirt. So whatever it is that you're into, that's great. But let's think about budget of stuff you can control, and then stuff that's really hard to control, like the markets. Where can you find some money? Budget and personal finance is a huge topic that no one is really talking about. They just want to blame the housing market for people's budget problems.
Yeah, and I don't know if you'll agree with me at this. The point I'm going to make is when somebody's like arguing you with price or rate or whatever the situation may be based on your industry or why you're talking to a client. Like I'm almost tempted to just pause and say, "How much do you think this should cost?"
Yeah, you
You're
can
in a
ask people that.
you're in a
But
$700,000 home.
so here's the thing. I kind of do that, right? Hey, Greg, we've talked about your credit, your income, your debts. Now let's get into another topic, budget. What are you planning on paying for your mortgage payment? That includes property taxes, insurance, principal interest, mortgage insurance. How much are you planning on spending each month to buy a house? You know, I
Yeah,
asked that question. And so that's kind of the same thing. And then people will say, oftentimes, a number that is $2,000 or less a month.
yeah,
And then you have to explain to them, okay, that's a great budget for the numbers that you just gave me. That helps you put money away. That helps you do all the things you want to do. Um, but that's not a realistic budget for a 5 bedroom house.
right.
And in DFW, even a 3 bedroom house in an okay neighborhood with a garage, like let's start adding this up, and 9.5 times out of 10, it adds up over $2,000 a month.
Yeah,
So, okay, well, why is your budget $2,000 a month? All right, well, let's back into it then. Can we find $300 a month somewhere? Restaurants, subscriptions. Do you need Paramount Plus and Apple TV? I know it's menial, but like those are the tough conversations that you have to have. Go find 10, 20, $200 a month savings, and then let's see what we can do with that money over a course of time.
yeah. It's big picture. Nobody wants to look beyond what they're actually dealing with, whether it be
Well,
insurance, taxes, or your mortgage, trying to figure
another
out
thing
what
that
you can
came up
afford.
Another thing that came up a lot at the wedding and people talking about stuff was just, sacrifices. No, you're not willing to do blank, blank, and blank, but people are also not willing to give up their favorite restaurant or the place that they have become a regular at. How much money you spending at that bar. So if you want to be in a better position and you don't think your income is going to change, then we got to change the debt side of the balance sheet.
Yeah. I mean, it's an easy
Money coming
concept.
in, money going out. It's that is the equation. So if you can't help money coming in part right now, well, what about the money going out part? Let's take a deep dive. I have these conversations daily, and some people that commit to it, they oftentimes are the ones that buy a house and help bridge that financial gap, that wealth gap, uh, way better than someone who doesn't make sacrifices or look into these things or stay committed. Because owning a home, there's so many stats out there. Owning a home is the number one way to bridge yourself to the next financial level.
Yeah.
It's
I
a,
mean,
it's a
it, yeah.
lot. It's expensive. It's getting more expensive, but the appreciation's there. You're still not wasting money every month. Even though it's getting more expensive becoming a homeowner, it's still very much worth it and helps you get to different heights. Many people live in the same house for 10, 15 years, but that might be when you find out, oh, wow, I am actually have a little wealth to my name now because I got 200K in equity after 15 years.
Yeah.
So, not going to get it in the first 1 to 3 years, probably, because I don't see 25% returns like you did during COVID. So this is not
No.
a flip investment, like,
You're right.
whatever. But if you make the time, you commit to it, you have a plan and you stick to that plan, home ownership is extremely possible still, even with it getting more expensive.
Yeah. It's way more attainable, I think, than people think.
Yeah, because everyone is listening to really bad advice these days. There's a lot of people offering advice that don't know anything about the topics.
Well, and I think if you just prepare and, like you said, make sacrifices and do the work for a year 6 months, 9 months, 2 years, whatever that time frame may need to be, you go into it and it's very accessible versus a lot of people come into it thinking, oh, I watched a video and if I just ask for this, I'll get it. But they didn't do any of the prep work. It's like, showing up for a marathon and you've never run a day in your life. Are you going to be able to finish it? Probably not.
Yeah, and you're gonna have to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
So, I've been working with a lady who is last 2 years. I've probably been working with her. She was in a really rough spot. Family situations, personal situations was rough, and she called us. It was a referral from a realtor. Started talking to her. She checks in with me all the time, asking questions. And in a year to a year and a half, her situation has changed dramatically for the better because
Mhm.
she's focused. It's just like anything. If you put time in, then it's going to go well. She's so focused. She's so dedicated. She wants to become a homeowner. She's putting all the tough things that have happened to her to the side and just barreling through. And I look forward to those calls because I'm not going to maybe make any money in the next 6 months. So the salesman, you're like, oh, here comes another 30-minute call. It's not going to make me any money. But no way.
Yeah.
I look forward to talking to this lady because this lady is nice. She's motivated. She wants help. Like those are awesome, awesome people to try to help. And I think she's going to be very, very close here to being able to buy. And it's going to be such a success story.
Yeah, those are great. Some of those are some of the best clients you could have is that they listen for a long
Yeah.
period of time and it's a good case study too for future
Her
clients.
situation has totally flipped. Like everything in her life was rough, and now she's got so many bright spots because of how hard she's worked. But she's it's the prep. We talk about people all the time. There's never too early to get started.
Hmm.
Well, and then people come to you after being in contract and haven't even got started yet and have no idea that they're not even approved. So like and then now you're going to lose your earnest money because you had seeked out a friend of a friend's cousin who's now going to be your agent who turns out just got their license or
Right.
maybe hasn't been doing any work and just kind of forgot to go through the steps.
Hmm.
So don't chase checks. Just make sure you're talking about people's situations. And if you get to the root of what's going on, then oftentimes home ownership is a great thing for people to help get past some of their issues.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it doesn't match.
Yeah.
But man, it's the personal finance angle that I think we need some more gurus in personal finance. Maybe my algorithm is listening to me here. Maybe they're out there already, but I haven't just seen them. All I've seen is people with really shitty advice.
I mean, there's plenty of that out there in our opinion. And so, you have to kind of sort through it. But
There's
I
lots
mean,
of
we've
people.
we've we've talked about this. We've been doing this what, almost 9 months, a year now. We've been recording, and
Yeah.
what do we always talk about? Personal finance. Like,
Well, there's nothing else to talk about. Every situation that we work with, it's situations are situational, but it all comes down to our questions to be able to qualify you or to get you insurance or whatever is I need to know about your personal financial numbers. Okay, and then here's the numbers, great, good or bad. How did we get here? Should we keep doing the same things or not? And then also, either here's your approval letter or here's why I don't have a approval letter. And it's all about the numbers and personal finance. The system is an algorithm.
hmm.
So, you got to feed it with what it wants if you want the approval letter. So it's there's nothing else to really discuss other than personal finance, and that's like kind of the arc of the umbrella.
Yeah, no, for sure. One last topic before we kind of shut down for the day, though. I want to thank my lender, Mark Thomas, for signing up for my code to protest my taxes because I would have completely forgot had I not gotten the letter in the mail saying, here's your PIN to access your property tax information. So I
Yeah.
protested again online. So the previous year we went from 275 to 225. This year I went from 225 to 215 just on first request. So it's consistently going down. This year I didn't take as much of a bite out of it because I was worried they were going to say no, and then I have to go through the in-person process, which I didn't want to do. Uh,
There is a little bit of a chess game with that because you're like, "Ugh, I could have probably gotten down to like 180,
mm,
oh well, I'll take 220." But it's just like at the card table. If you're winning and you're making some money and you walked away, you're happy. Could you have made more money and been happier? Sure, but you're not devastated. So go ahead and leave.
yeah, it's going to save us money. And I looked at like the previous years of our property and saw kind of where the floor might be from 4 or 5 years ago. So I'm like, okay,
Well,
we've got
but
another jump next year. I can protest again.
I say algorithm, I mean, that's an algorithm too. The first, they offer you a reduction, and that number comes from their comps, their sales comps. Now you can, oftentimes their sales comps are taking properties that are valued a lot higher that are not true comps, and
Hmm.
that's why you can bring it down. It's like, whoa, that's a new build house. Just because it's within 0.5 miles of me doesn't mean that you should use that value against me. And so there's a lot of room for reduction there, especially because people have not protested for years, and
Yeah,
homes are like, especially assessed value for the counties are way overinflated. I got my rental property down below my original purchase price this year.
nice. How'd that feel?
I was like, okay, I might not have to do anything drastic here. We can sit in the pocket a little bit longer.
You don't have to sell the farm.
Yeah.
Uh,
Because if we had other topics today, I was going to kind of talk about what we're doing in business and some planning and stuff that we're doing, but we can get into that later. But personally, I'm starting to really look at kind of leveling up my investments that I've made in property, and so for the first time ever, in the forefront of my mind is, okay, what's it look like to sell instead of just acquire? And
right.
so I'm going to be, and I've already had some tax conversations and this and that. So there's a lot that goes into property that people might not always realize. You got to think about taxes. You got to think about what you're going to do with the money and the timing to make sure that you're not getting hit in certain ways, capital gains and stuff, and then or
Yeah.
just realizing real income on your tax returns. Okay, well then what does that mean? If are you going to get approved for a house? Well, it might look next year like my income went way down if they tag me with income that I wasn't planning on, and then now my income goes down. They won't calculate me right, and could affect your approval. So there's like all these little games within a game, and but for the first time, I'm looking at selling some things because it's just like my card example. We've made some equity. We would get money, so let's just take it instead of like, well, I want more money. Well, or I just use that to a different asset class that I'm
Uh-huh.
interested in, and maybe that produces the more money. And let's just get that started now rather than waiting. And see, it's taxes, shopping insurance, all that kind of stuff keeps me really, really glued to what's going on with the values, and so might be looking at being a seller for the first time.
Well, that'll be exciting. Can't wait to hear those complaints.
Well,
Uh,
things are sitting right now quite a bit, so I'm not in a rush to put it on the market.
mm,
I would like to see something happen, just like everybody else. But at least I'm making money while I'm waiting, and
yeah.
so, or at least breaking even in some cases. But yeah, I'm trying to get into some development projects, and might be time to say stage one of the investment strategy has been complete. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, we'll expect updates. We can actually dive into that probably a little bit more next time we chat. So I've got some interesting
Yeah,
things on my end business wise, not from an
because
investment standpoint, but
and that I would say that is the number one thing that I see out there right now still. From a market update perspective, as like my final thought thing. But people that are buying still, and over the last 2 or 3 years where it's been kind of up and down, people that are buying, first time home buyers and investors
mhm.
all
People
day.
still are buying. Yeah, they still are buying for sure.
And it's a great time to be a first time investor right now. If you're not, if you're investing is something you want to do, yeah, rates are high, but you're getting purchase prices and help to close on investment properties that you were not getting before,
Hmm.
and you won't get again when it turns. So there's still a window where investors are collecting right now.
Yeah, I see it every day too. So it's just like I said earlier, it's based on your perspective, your situation, what you can see, what you can't see, will determine your outcome. So I think that's good for today. A lot of
Yeah.
good stuff, unless you have one more thought. We got about 9 minutes here.
Last thought would be the Fed held steady with the rates. So things are just getting really political, and everyone's pointing fingers and yelling at the other person, and people are trying to get people fired and all this kind of BS. Um, I don't know how I feel about Jay Powell, our Fed chair, because he is holding absolutely steady. There's some things that they collect in their little algorithm to figure out what they want to do that I don't like. I still hate the jobs report, and I hate that the jobs report has so much bearing on interest rates because you're always seeing, oh, jobs are more jobs than expected, and then that kills the rate. Rates get lower, higher, and then like 2 weeks later, on the back page of the paper that nobody reads, it's like, oh, jobs were revised a ton, and oh, well, that number would have been great for rates, but now it's revised, and now they don't give a shit about it, and rates don't move. So the jobs report and its affiliation with the rates gets confusing sometimes. But they use all this data. So whether or not Jay Powell is doing the right thing is hard to say. I think I like not just dropping rates just to drop rates, though, because we need some fallout. For like the recession word is a scary word, but that's what will trigger rates to come down is more negative because the resiliency of the economy and the consumer in general. Now, some of that resiliency is being lifted by bad debt,
Yeah.
but that is what's keeping everything the same. We just talked about personal finance. Well, people are out there spending money on random one-off items that they're buying over and over and over again, no problem. And so, but some companies are starting to show negative reporting on their quarterlies and stuff like that. But a lot of companies are still out there making a lot of money. So when all this bad personal finance and people keep buying junk over and over and over again, it kind of shows that they have dispensable income and the market's actually doing good. So there's no reason for rates to come down. So we're all pushing because housing numbers are bad. We think rates should come down. But Powell and the Fed board, they're looking at all of this stuff. And so
Mhm.
they need to see more things change before they can bring rates down. So that word resiliency is kind of fake, but the numbers and the algorithm shows that it is sort of still being more resilient than they need for it to drop.
Yeah, well, I think, and I don't know, have full understanding of all the economical things that are going on. So if I sound ignorant and stupid, I'm fully aware of it. But there was
Well,
also the
I'd
uncertainty
like
with,
I'd like to have that disclaimer for all of my words as well.
yeah, I mean, the uncertainty of, I mean, the most fun word to say right now is tariff. And over the weekend, it looks like we're getting a pause in the most expensive
But
section of it. But I
rates
mean,
came
like
out
just
this
the,
morning
I
on
know, but
that
like,
news.
had he cut the rate in anticipation that this wasn't going to be resolved, and then they go on a pause, it's like, well,
We need all the negotiations that are going to happen to get negotiated, and the Fed
yeah,
knows that.
yeah, it's,
So that came out. I thought that might be good news. I thought the markets might loosen up a little bit. Now, stock market went crazy this morning already. But and we're recording on the Monday, May 12th, so you can
mhm.
check our you can fact check
Yeah,
us.
our data,
But the interest rates tick down a little bit worse to open the day. So usually when the stock market goes up, the rate markets don't like it
yeah, hmm,
because it's either stocks or bonds. And
yeah.
so I thought that that might help the rate market a little bit, seeing tariffs are being lifted and this and that. But no, not yet. So the rates can't decide what they want to lean on. They keep picking one thing and then like, hey, it's gotten better. Oh, yeah, we want to look at this thing over here now, actually. So they want to see a full picture of strength or super weakness before they'll change.
I think that's fair, in my
It's totally
opinion.
fair, and that's why I
Yeah.
say I don't know if I like Powell or not, but like at least he's being patient and taking a look around.
Yeah, I mean, you may not like somebody's decision, but you can feel a little bit. better about a decision being made if it wasn't just like one, two, three, go
Yeah,
type decision making. So it is what it is, and it'll obviously pan out over the course of the next rest of the year, honestly. Not even just 90 days,
yeah.
but next rest of the year.
But if you're waiting on interest rates to drop before you do something, you could be waiting a lot longer than you think, like a lot longer. So
If,
I would say have the conversation. I would love to have a conversation with you, but have the conversation of what does it look like right now, just in case, just so I know. And
yeah.
then decide if you want to wait based on those numbers. Don't base it on just a generic interest rate in the background that is affected by a lot of different things. Two different times in the last few months, rates have dipped for like one day and then gone back up. Called a bunch of people, said, I've got hundreds of dollars a month savings for you. Do you want it? They're like, I think it's going to get better, so no. And guess what? It's gotten worse
Yeah.
than where we started. So like now we're not even back to where they originally bought. We
Yeah.
dipped for savings, and now where they originally bought it's higher than that, and it's going like this. And so, when it was here, man, if you jumped on it, you'd have 6 months of better payments by now.
hmm Yeah. It's people.
So yeah, you can
mm,
blame the housing market, but you got to strike fast. You can't go out and be like, oh, Microsoft stock fucked me because I it changed whatever the number as I did my call. But like, well, you called it at like a 2008 number. You're not
Yeah.
gonna buy it at that price.
Yeah. But anyway, I think it's a good final thought. There's one little quote I was listening to Iced Coffee Hour. I don't know if you ever listened to him. They do like finance and business, but they have interesting, diverse people on. A lot of people I think are dumb and just make a lot of money, and so I like to listen to him. But they had this guy on there. He's a YouTuber. He does steroids, gambles. Like that's all he does is gamble online. And in my opinion, I would argue that he can't read. I don't know. Just listening to him, I'm like, this is the dumbest person I've ever heard in my life. But he did say something that I thought was dumb at the forefront of it. But then I thought about
Oh.
it more. I was like, well, that's maybe he didn't mean for it to be introspective, but it's kind of an interesting thing he said. He said people always say like they're hunting for the greener grass on the other side. And he goes, sometimes that grass is greener, but then sometimes you get over there and you realize it's fake. It's not real grass. And he's
Yeah.
like, so why would I listen to rich people if sometimes I'm like, I don't even know how you got rich. I don't understand it. So why am I trying to get to where you are?
Yeah, don't compare yourself to others. And my phone
Yeah.
is not gonna make it here, so we gotta say bye.
Yeah, we'll sign off.